Welcome to the Phoenix Perspective Podcast. I'm your host, Kori Rae Kovacs, a registered nurse and reflector in human design on a soul mission to help women like you rise from life's ashes with abundant energy, purpose, and joy. Each week, we'll meet at the intersection of science, soul, and storytelling as we create a bridge between holistic women's health, the sacred feminine, and cyclical wisdom. You'll get tools and insights from experts and guests, helping you to thrive in every area of your life. So go ahead and pull up a chair, grab your favorite crystal or cup of tea, and let's rise like phoenixes together. Hello, beautiful soul. Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful you are here today because we are at the season finale. Oh, season 1 is coming to an end. This cycle is completing, and I am in awe, y'all. When I started the Phoenix Perspective podcast back in December of 2025, which was just a few months ago, I truly had no idea what was going to happen. I just knew that I wanted to have conversations with people, and really, I just wanted to start a podcast so I could talk to my friends and meet new people. But it has become something so much bigger than that for not just me, but for you. These conversations we've been having on the podcast and the conversations that have been spurred from those conversations is like, I feel like this is what we've been longing for. We've been wanting to have conversations about our bodies and about our cycles and about the seasons that we go through as women and about what healing looks like. And the fact that we all have these Phoenix stories, the points where we go down into the depths and we go through the fire and we literally burn into ash, and then we rise up and create something new from ourselves. Like, I think so many of us were longing for these kinds of conversations, and I'm so grateful that we've created a space here inside the Phoenix Perspective world to have these kinds of conversations. But yeah, 17 episodes in, and I'm already just blown away because, y'all, season 1 has reached over 700 downloads in 17 episodes. That's crazy amazing. And it's not just about the numbers, really. I mean, I'm blown away by that, by the way. I had zero expectation. I think I just wanted a space where I could talk and explore. And of course, I hope that people listen, but I didn't have these expectations about how many people were going to download or how many downloads I was going to have at the beginning of the season. So just like looking at that and thinking about it, oh my gosh, 700 times somebody had to click on this podcast and listen to it. It just blows my mind in the most magnificent way. I'm truly delighted. I'm so delighted. And I have you to thank for that. But I think what's really mattered to me, even more than the numbers, has been the messages I have received from you all. Like, even just yesterday, I had a comment on one of my videos, and this beautiful soul was like, I don't know how I found this podcast, how it showed up on my feed, but I'm so glad it did. I feel so much more connected to myself as a woman. And I was like, fuck yeah. Erin, if you're out there, I'm giving you a shout out. But that's my point. That's what I wanted to do. It's like, I wanted to help us connect back to parts of us that we have forgotten as a society and that have been squashed out of women, and just come back to these simple pleasures and blueprints of our cycles and talk about periods and talk about grief and talk about trauma and rising through that and realizing that that is just the human experience and that we get to make these cool ass lives throughout all of it. That's really why this podcast exists and why I am so freaking excited to keep going. But here's the thing, right? And I talk about this in all of my work about the cycles. Is there's always a beginning and an ending. And this podcast has cycles to it too. I have cycles to me. Oh, and we were never meant to just like perpetually go and go and go and not take a break. And I live through that rhythm. I live through that rhythm in as I'm building my business, in my household, the way I run my family and my farm, the way I live my life. And that's the kind of structure and framework that I want to show you as well, is that we were never meant to just keep going all the time without a break, without a stop. You know, even though the wheel continues to turn, there are moments of rest and there are moments of expansion. And so this podcast follows suit as well. That's why I have seasons and why I'm taking a break. Now, it doesn't mean I'm going anywhere. It just means that I'm taking the opportunity to go through a menstruation of sorts to shed the things that I don't need to have anymore, to like shed the parts of and really they're just about the expectations I have inside myself, to be honest, right? It's not about the show, but there are things like I learned so much about myself, about you, about what's supportive for you. And I want to reemerge in season 2 with this newfound information that's integrated into myself as the person who's holding, space, the container here, as well as the show as a catalyst for our emerging awareness and our emerging awakenings. So today, I really wanted to do something special for you. I wanted to show you the top 5 played episodes from season 1. Now I'm not gonna share, don't worry, I'm not gonna share all 5, like, whole episodes, but I went through and I very intentionally curated and chose specific clips from these 5 top played episodes to share with you. I felt like the energy from these clips helps to show what was really the transmission that was coming through during those conversations. And some of them are solo, some of them are conversations I had with others, but it's I really just wanted to give you a taste as we look back, right? We take a look back at the journey that we just took together and we reflect on some of these moments that truly felt inspirational and felt grounding and felt like, oh my gosh, it was like a release of, yes, that's what I want to talk about. So these are clips about 5 minutes long. Each clip is about 5 minutes long. And these are the clips that resonated most with me. And I truly believe that they, resonated with you guys as well, because these were the episodes that you all listened to the most and that you were sharing and that you were exploring together. They are meant to be moments that spark reflection and healing and just a demonstration of the power of what happens when we share our Phoenix stories. So we're going to count them down together, starting with number 5 most played. And we're going to count down all the way to the number 1 most played episode in season 1. Y'all, Y'all blew me away with the numbers on this. It was so crazy. It was like, clearly y'all loved that conversation. So we're going to count down to that number one. So coming in at number 5 is a moment from episode 10, why you get headaches before your period and what your body is asking for. In this episode, I talked about something that so many women experience every single month, and that's symptoms that show up right before your period, specifically headaches and migraines. And instead of seeing those symptoms as something to fight or suppress, what if they were messages? And what if they were related to not just your physical health, but also to your mental and spiritual well being? This clip is a reminder that the body is always communicating with us, and that sometimes the most powerful thing that we can do is pause long enough to listen. So, here is a clip from episode 10. Hope you enjoy. That can come up and manifest itself as headaches and create this sort of mental pressure. And again, when you're experiencing pressure, it's looking for a release. So, a headache can be the body's way to tell you that, hey, you've been really putting a lot of pressure on yourself. And that self judgment is just too much right now. We've got to back off a little bit, get off my back a little, right? So it's not about blaming yourself. It's just about building awareness and realizing that these symptoms are maybe indications for you to kind of change that inner environment a little bit, recognizing that how you speak to yourself matters, and especially in this phase right before your bleed. So, some ways that you can support yourself here is, noticing when you're getting really self-critical, maybe giving yourself some space to journal some of those things so you can address them at a later time and really soften your inner dialogue inside and start to speak some kinder things to yourself, offering yourself compassion instead of correction. And remember that the luteal phase is not necessarily a time for self-improvement, right? It's a time for inner reflection and self-honesty. And that late luteal phase is really emphasizing a time for you to care for yourself. So I want to leave you with this reframe. Your headaches that show up, they're not they're not punishment. It's not your body punishing you, and it's also a indication that maybe your body needs a little bit more support. It's pressure that's asking to be released, and those can be related physically, like to our hormones, or maybe to the things that we're doing, or even emotionally or spiritually as well. The luteal phase in her magic is not meant to be this miserable time where we have to suffer month to month. It really is just the time of illumination, and it's meant to be honored, and you are meant to be honored during that time. And when you honor your body, you honor your cyclical nature, then those things can start to reveal themselves, and then you can care for yourselves appropriately. And oftentimes those symptoms tend to soften as well as you also soften your views towards yourself. So, the next time, if you have a headache that creeps up along with that PMS or right before your bleed, instead of, just going right ahead and grabbing a Tylenol and just going about your day and not even thinking about it, let's take a moment to stop and ask, what is my body trying to tell me? How can I care for myself right here? And where am I pushing too hard? And where do I need to soften a little bit? Where am I putting too much pressure on myself? And how can I soften? Remember, your body, she's not betraying you. She's not broken. You're not broken. She just is looking for some relief and to help to get your attention so that way you can care for yourself a little bit better. Gosh, that episode was so good. Again, that was episode 10 from season 1. What a great episode. If you haven't had a chance to listen to it, make sure you go back and find the full episode anywhere that you listen to your podcasts. So, coming in at number 4 is a powerful moment from episode 2, How to Heal Your Body Image and Why It Changes Everything. Y'all, I feel like this is like a secret hidden weapon here in season 1. Um, eh, this conversation was so powerful, and it was truly such a transformational moment that I shared in that episode about how I've changed the view of my body. So, in this conversation, we explored something that isn't talked enough about in women's health, and that's the impact of our inner dialogue on our physical well being. Many women are working so hard to improve their health and balance their hormones or feel better in their bodies, but we don't talk enough about how the stress is created by constant self criticism and the way that we look at ourselves and our bodies and speak to ourselves. So, this clip highlights how the way that we speak to ourselves actually affects our nervous system, our hormones, and our ability to heal. So, I hope you enjoy this clip from episode 2. So chronic self-criticism, it puts your body into this subtle but constant fight or flight state. And there is enough research now that we know that if you're in a chronic stress state or a chronic inflammatory state, it's going to disrupt your hormones. Your sex hormones, so your period, you're going to have issues with your periods, you're going to have issues with your thyroid, right? Your blood sugar management, so your insulin hormones, okay? So now we're talking about type 2 diabetes and those kinds of things, metabolic syndrome. It's also that chronic self-criticism, it's increasing inflammation because again, it's contributing to the internal stress state. Your body doesn't I don't know if you didn't know this. Your body doesn't know the difference between what you say inside of you and what is being said to you outside of you. To your body, really the only thing that it hears is you, right? Because even the things that we hear on the outside, that has to get processed in your mind and then your body internalizes it. So if you are constantly saying, "Oh God, you are so fucking gross," right? Then that is like somebody on the other side of you, like behind you, saying that. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine walking around and having somebody tell you all the things that you're saying in your mind, actually saying it to you out loud outside of you all day long? Wouldn't that be an interesting experiment? But your body interprets that stress the same way. So whether it's coming from the internal or somebody is saying those things to you external, your body interprets it the same. And that's going to increase that stress. It's going to increase that cortisol. It's going to create inflammation in the body and it makes your health much, much, much harder to take care of, resulting in chronic stress, things that cause chronic stress would be like next thing that happens is, and I already touched on this a little bit, but your hormones get dysregulated. So again, this is based in the stress, but the stress that comes from internal self criticism and self rejection, it also impacts your cortisol. It impacts your progesterone, which directly impacts your fertility, or even when you're in perimenopause, those increase of perimenopause symptoms or other menstrual challenges like PMS. It affects how your body stores fat, right? And hormones. So it's impacting your insulin. So now you're struggling to lose weight. You're struggling to keep your blood sugar stable, right? And there's a whole slew of things that comes along with that as well. And then the other piece is your thyroid, right? These are all cascading events of your metabolism, how your body functions, your energy, how well you build muscle, how well you have, the experience of your periods, your fertility. All of these are impacted by your stress levels. And so if you're having this constant internal negative self-talk, then you are contributing to the overall chronic stress. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that this is everything, right? There's so many factors that contribute to our stress. But the internal one, that's what we're focusing on today. Yeah, I'm sure you've got, there's stresses at outside. You've got, relationship challenges. You've got challenges of being a mom, being a parent. You got challenges at work. You got the world, right? And the freaking dumpster fire of the world that we live in right now, right? There's plenty of external stress to go around. But today we're focusing on the one that's happening inside your head. And it is also contributing to the things that are keeping you stuck in your health. I love thinking about our bodies in the way of how can we reach better health? How can we reach what I call the vibrant life, where we are feeling vibrant in our bodies? We are feeling energized. We are feeling as best as we can given the cards that we've been dealt, right? And safety is a key component of that. Your body cannot heal, she cannot lose weight, or take on bigger challenges like starting a soul aligned project or business if she's constantly feeling like she's attacked, even if the attack is coming from inside your own head. Wow, the incredible power of changing our inner dialogue. It, sisters, changed my life. And I'm glad we got to have that conversation. So, coming up at number 3 for season 1 for the most played podcast episodes is a clip from episode 4, Womb Wisdom 101, The Beginner's Guide to Your Cycle, Hormones, and Feminine Energy. Now, y'all know I love talking about periods and cycles and all of the things related to menstrual health. That is my jam. I am a total nerd when it comes to that stuff. So you will definitely be hearing more. But this episode was such a great introduction. It's really, truly one of the core ideas that runs through this entire podcast. And that's the idea that women's bodies are cyclical and not linear. When we begin to understand our menstrual cycle as 4 inner seasons, something really powerful happens. We stop trying to force ourselves to operate the same way every single day. And instead, we start working with the rhythms of our bodies and actually open up space for a greater sense of stability, a greater sense of capacity, creativity, and truly an expansion within ourselves. And I believe at the heart of my hearts that this is the foundation for creating a vibrant life. So here is clip number 3 from episode 4 of season 1. So, here is a simple analogy to help you understand the nature of your entire menstrual cycle. Temperate climates, like such as like what we have here in the Midwest United States. I live in Indiana, so I live in a temperate climate here. But temperate climates have 4 distinct seasons, and each season has its predictable patterns with minor variations based on where you're located. The weather might change day to day, but you would expect, for example, summertime to be warm and sunny, and you would expect the wintertime to be cold and snowy. And then spring and fall is going to be somewhere in between and usually wet. Usually it's raining during those times. But the thing about the seasons is that there are activities that are best suited for each season, right? The summertime is great for going swimming or having a barbecue, but you wouldn't expect to be going outside and going snowboarding, right? If you live here in Indiana, you're not going to be expecting to go snowboarding in the middle of July. The same thing applies to wintertime, right? Winter is awesome for building a snowman or for staying outside and being warm and cozy. Like right now, I'm wearing my if you can't see me on video, I'm wearing this pink fuzzy cat sweater. It's absolutely ridiculous and awesome. But yeah, that's something you would expect to do in the wintertime. And but it's not really the best time for you to be going outside and having a picnic or riding your bikes, right? Your menstrual cycle throughout the month is just like that. It's just like an entire year of seasons, except it's compounded into 1 month. So, like those 4 seasons, you have 4 different phases of your entire menstrual cycle, and each phase has its own superpowers. It has its own, like, great things that there is to do during that time, and then it also has its own challenges, just like the summer has its challenges and the winter has its challenges. Each season has its challenges. So do the phases of your cycle. So when you get to know your phases and understand what's going on in your body, then you actually get to know how to better take care of yourself. Now, it is important to understand that the patterns they follow a general rhythm, but it's going to vary from person to person and even from decade to decade. Your periods are going to be very different in your 20s than they are going to be in your 40s. So even if you have, regular cycles at one part in your life, it might have some variations. And so it's important to understand that you you're just like the differences between the seasons here in Indiana and the seasons up in Maine or the seasons down in South America, right? Or in Central America. There's going to be variations between those seasons, and what you would expect during those different seasons is going to be different for each person. So when I talk about normal, right, I'm air quoting the heck out of this word here. Normal, when we talk about a normal menstrual cycle, we're just talking about a textbook. This is what it should look like, but there's so many variations. It's like saying like the textbook seasons of what the textbook seasons are supposed to look like, what a textbook July is supposed to look like, or right? We're just basing it on patterns that we see relative everywhere else and kind of what averages are, and trying to distinguish the patterns between what is healthy, what is a healthy body doing, and what could actually indicate that there is some sort of health problems or challenges. So when I if I accidentally drop the word normal, doesn't mean that if you have a period that's outside of this that you're not normal. It just means that maybe there's a variation here. And the best thing to determine normal for you is to track your cycle. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but understand that what's normal for you can be a little bit different and outside of what the norms are for, saying 28-day cycle, ovulate on day 14, right? Most people actually don't follow those rules. So just understand your body is unique. And when you get to know your body, then that's how you find your normal patterns and rhythm. Gosh, that conversation gets me excited every single time. I could listen to that episode over and over and over because it's just so damn good. It's so damn good. And there's a reason why it was number came in at number 3. The the beginning space of understanding our wombs and getting connected with her just makes all the difference, sisters. So make sure you go back and check out that episode if you haven't listened to it yet. But moving on in our season 1 countdown, we are getting to the second most played episode from season 1, and that is, surprise, episode 1. Episode 1 was all about menstrual cycles, women's health, spiritual healing, and the Phoenix perspective. It was where I got to introduce the reason why I started the podcast, the nature of this podcast, and started talking about the Phoenix archetype and how that shows up in our life. We explored the deeper meaning behind the Phoenix archetype and why it resonates so deeply with us as women and as humanity. We're souls living a human experience, and it's just so fascinating to explore these common themes like the cycles and the phoenix. This clip, it really talks to that moment of surrender. And that's that moment when everything just kind of burns down and the rebirth begins. So I hope you enjoy this clip from episode 1. The other way that the phoenix shows up is in love and loss. I'm sure that every single one of us has gone through this cycle at some point, whether we went through a romantic love and a loss, right, from a breakup, or maybe the love and loss of a pet or a family member, right? Loss can be many things. It can be meaning that they're not in our lives anymore, or it could mean death. It can mean all sorts of things. But there is a cycle to that as well. Every relationship ends one of two ways. It ends in breakup or it ends in death. I know maybe that sounds kind of morbid, but it's true because it is a sign of life. There is a cycle to it. And again, we're going to explore those things, but just think about how the phoenix continues to show up in our lives. The last thing that the phoenix archetype likes to show up is in our personal life transformations. I know that I've seen this a lot in my life, the different cycles, the different ways that I have had to shed the world's expectations of me, the things that I thought I needed to be, and I'd have to let those things go. I literally return to ash, burn down all the things that I thought, who I was and the things that I thought about me, and then rise into another version of myself, the reinvention space, the rising space. So it's clear that the phoenix is very closely tied to the human experience and is very closely tied to being a woman. I think one of the other things I love about the phoenix archetype is not only the embodiment of the cycles, but the process that a phoenix must go through in order to be reborn. I honestly don't remember which episode or which Harry Potter it was, but it was the one where the phoenix, right? And Harry sees the phoenix sitting in the, could have been the one with the basilisk. I don't remember. What was that? Chamber of Secrets? But anyway, Harry sees the phoenix in Dumbledore's chambers, and the phoenix looks like shit, right? Like the phoenix is like molty and y'all, I have chickens, okay? And my chickens, I had several chickens that just molted, and it reminded me so much of that scene because they look ragged as fuck. They do not look very good. But so when birds molt, they just look crazy, right? They get the feathers everywhere. They look sad. They don't look very good. They're low energy. I know my chickens, when they're molting, they don't lay eggs, right? They've lost their life. They've lost their sparkle. And so the phoenix reaches that point in her life where she's lived a good life. She's had a good run, but now things are changing. She's no longer vibrant like she was. And then you see that the phoenix surrenders to the flames. Like literally just poof, bursts into flames. There comes a point where she can no longer hold the state that she's in, and she has to return to ash completely. It's through that surrender that we go through a sort of purification to let go of what was no longer serving, right? Like those feathers were no longer serving her. That body was no longer serving her. And so she succumbed to the ash. She succumbed to the natural cycle. She went through the death. And in our lives, I call that like the dark night of the soul. They can be little mini deaths, right? Like I attribute our menstrual phases to be like little mini deaths every month because they kind of are. But then there's also bigger things that we experience, right? It can be that loss. It can be a divorce. It can be a drastic career change or losing a job. It can be the death of a family member or somebody that's close to us. It can be the loss of a friendship. Loss is very, very closely tied with this. But there's also other things too. There can be moments when we burn something to the ground because we're tired of our own bullshit. As you'll hear in my story, that's a big moment that happened. But regardless, there is a moment where there has to be a surrender back to the ash. And the alchemy that happens when everything is burnt down to the ground, it allows for a new beginning to be born from that because the cycles never end. Just because something dies doesn't mean that's it. There is always a beginning in an ending. When, they use that cliche, like when one door opens or when one door closes, another opens. It's true. And we see it everywhere, and especially in the Phoenix archetype. And that's why I believe that the Phoenix holds such beautiful life energy because this is how life runs. Wow. Every time I listen to that clip, it just reminds me so much of what we're doing here and the magic that we are creating together by having these conversations. And I just want you to know you are a part of this so much. Y'all are feeling the Phoenix. I'm feeling the Phoenix. And it's just cool. It's just really, really cool. I'm having a great time. Hope you are too. But we have come to it, drum roll. We have gotten to the number one episode played during season one. This clip comes from episode 11, Self Worth, Desire, and Feminine Power Confessions of a Dominatrix, featuring my conversation with Hillary Burton. And y'all just ate this up like pudding. You loved it. This episode had almost 200 downloads. Absolutely incredible. This clip that I'm sharing from that episode, we talk about something that feels really deeply important to me. And that's the idea that women are not meant to compete with each other. We were meant to rise together. And every woman, she carries her own flame. And I'm not going to give away too much of this clip because I love it. But this is such a powerful reminder that we get to rise together and we get to help each other to see our light, and truly that's a part of what I'm doing here on the show is to help you remember your light while also I'm helping to remember myself and my light, and we're doing it all together. And this part of the conversation was super powerful, so hope you enjoyed the top episode that was played during season one, and that was episode 11 with Hillary Burton. That was our path that we had to walk in order to get there.
Mhm.
All
Yeah.
through the pain, all through the heartbreak, the anger, the grief, the, you know, fear.
Mhm.
And in order for us to alchemize and transform the energy that we had inside of ourselves so we could actually hold the power and share that with
Mhm.
others.
Yeah. Every single sleepless night, every single tear, every single moment of pain was so absolutely worth where we are right now. All of it. All
100%.
I would do all of it all over the exact same way again.
Absolutely.
To get here, like, to walk that journey and to learn what I learned, and, like, to be in this place of loving and self-worth and growth, and, like, we're continuously growing, right? But, it's so beautiful.
That's why I made this freaking podcast because this is what I want to talk about because
Yeah.
this is what we're doing. This is
Yeah.
we are we are relighting our own torches so we
Mhm.
can walk and show another woman to help her remember, oh, hey, you've got a torch in your hand. And here, you
Mhm.
can borrow my flame. We're not passing torches here. I get to keep my torch.
Yes.
You get to keep
Yes.
your torch. We're just
Yeah.
lighting all the torches that we were already holding in the first place.
It's elevating the feminine, right? And truly growing in that energy as a collective. Yeah. And I feel like it's interesting. I had a thought when you were talking about that because my brand is goddess guidance, right? I'm a goddess. But that doesn't mean that you aren't either. We all are. And that's the point. And
Hmm.
and having the space to hold and say, I'm a goddess. Yeah. And so are you. And so
Hmm.
is the woman down the street. And so is your neighbor. And so is your sister. And so is your mom. We all are. We all have that energy within us. So it's not a competition. It's not putting ourselves on a pedestal, right? It's just elevating the feminine where it should be.
Mhm. Because the feminine is beautiful in every single
Yeah.
one of us. You don't
Yeah.
go into a field of wildflowers and expect that, like, that wildflower thinks she's better than that wildflower, or that they can't all be in a field together, and they don't they don't detract from one another, right? When we make a
Yeah.
garden, we
Yeah.
love to put so many different flowers in them. There's a
Yes.
reason
Yeah.
for that, because they make everything beautiful, and they're
Beauty,
different.
it's abundance, it's light. Mhm. Yeah.
Everything in all of that energy, they're all unique and beautiful in their own right, and then when you combine them all together, it's a whole 'nother level of beauty.
Yeah. Yeah. And when we think of, like, the combined power of the feminine, right? Doing that journey was very isolating. It was challenging, it was painful, it was brutal, but now there's so many women like you and I who are stepping into this and supporting one another and supporting other women also, and, like, how much more powerful is that? That we can help women along their journeys and say, "You know what? I did this. It was really rough, but I can help you figure out a way to do that with less pain, less struggle, less suffering," right? And some of us are meant for that journey, but making it a little bit easier and having a path is life changing.
I don't know, I think I was a freaking stubborn pain in the ass, and I raised my hand before I came here on planet Earth and said, "This is hard mode, please, like, I'm ready to level the fuck up, and I
Yeah.
cannot do
Yeah.
that if it is in easy mode."
Yeah.
I was a huge
I
gamer,
know
like,
I
I
did
used to
that too.
D
Yeah.
like, I used to play video games. I was a World of Warcraft, like, chica in my 20s. That's all I did in my
Yeah.
20s
Yeah.
was play WoW. And, like, in order for you to sharpen your skills, you had to go do the hard
Mhm.
dungeons. You had to go do the
Mhm.
raids. You
Yeah.
had to make it hard. And if you didn't, if you just played on easy mode all the time, it became boring. It became like you just would yawn. It's not
Yeah.
that's not the life I signed up
Mhm.
for. I don't think
Yeah.
it's the life you signed up for.
No, no, I signed up for struggle. I was like, "Put me in the depths of it. My
Throw
soul
me in the
needs
deep end, please.
my soul needs an upgrade. I'll be crawling my way out."
That's the
Mhm.
point. That's the point
Yeah.
that I wanted to
Yeah.
make, is that when our souls are ready for the next level, because there is something that we are working on. I don't remember everything of what my soul is up to. I don't think I'm meant to. But what I do know is that whatever's coming, my soul needed me to wake the fuck up really early. And in order for me to do that, I had to go through some pretty rough shit.
Yep. Yep. Crawled our way out of the pit, you know?
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. We are not passing torches. We are just helping each other light our own torches that we've all had, is such a powerful thing, and I love that so much. It was such a great conversation. Listening back to all of these moments, it reminds me of why I started this podcast in the first place. Women are fucking powerful, y'all. You're powerful. We're powerful. But so many of us were never taught how to listen to our bodies, or how to trust ourselves, or how to honor the cycles that literally shapes our lives. And this show is about reclaiming that wisdom. And it's it's only the beginning. We've only gone through one cycle, one season, and there's so much more. So much more to come. Now, I'm not going to leave you in between seasons with nothing, okay? I can't do that. But I do have something special for you in between, until season 2 starts. I have put together something called the Phoenix Unscripted. And these are raw episodes that have not been edited, that are straight from my voice memos that I have on my phone. Y'all, I have been recording voice recordings on my phone since 2017. And I have hundreds, maybe even thousands of them, okay, on my phone. And I think I always knew I was talking to somebody, but I didn't have a show. I didn't have a place to put them. So I have selected some of these voice memos from my personal phone. It's kind of like my personal audio journal, and I am sharing them with you. There's no script, there's no teaching agenda other than what was coming through me at the time. They're just real-time conversations that I had with myself, and these are the reflections and the things that I'm learning as I'm growing in my life. And because I truly believe that I'm walking this path with you. I'm 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 there. I'm right there beside you, sister. And I encourage you to think about these Phoenix Unscripted episodes as us just sitting down on the couch and me, sharing an insight or something that struck me and that I wanted to share with you. Like we're sitting by the fire with a cup of coffee, maybe by the campfire or by the fireplace and just just sharing the things that we have learned. So those episodes will drop in between seasons while we prepare for what's coming next. While I take a little bit of a break and really just tune in to the next season and what wants to come through for us, for the community. And speaking of what's next, season 2 of the Phoenix Perspective podcast is going to begin on the new moon on May 16th, 2026. So I'll be taking a couple month break, so you'll have plenty of episodes that are still going to be released on the moon phases. So that's still the same. But the new season 2, is going to start on the new moon on May 16th. And this next season has a little bit of a theme to it. Season 1, we really focused kind of on the foundation. We introduced the cycles, we set the stage for transformation, and we really laid a foundation for cyclical living. But season 2, I'm going to be diving into something a little deeper. Season 2 is all about rising in real life. Because what happens after the awakening? What happens after the diagnosis or after the dark night of the soul? How do women actually rebuild their lives, their health, and their work and their relationships after that Phoenix story, after the burning down? And how do they rebuild it in a way that honors who they are becoming? You're going to hear powerful stories from women who have walked through illness and trauma, transformation, and profound personal rebirth. And more importantly, how they now live differently because of their Phoenix story. I cannot wait to share these conversations with you. Make sure you subscribe, and season 2 comes out May 16th, so you are not going to want to miss it. Now, before we get to our community card reading, I want to ask you just one small favor, okay? If this podcast has resonated with you, if any of these conversations have helped you feel more connected to your body, to your healing, or to your own rising through your life's journey, would you take 30 seconds right now to rate and review the show? Reviews are one of the biggest ways that podcasts grow. They help more women find these conversations. So, if you've been listening to this, Susan, and something has touched your life, I would be incredibly grateful if you'd leave a quick review wherever you are listening. All right. Before we close today's episode, of course, not going to leave you without a card reading. It's kind of become a little bit of ritual here at the end of the podcast. And I've been hearing that y'all love this part. I love this part. So, of course, we're not going to finish up the season without doing a card reading. And I would love to pull the intention of this card to help us to hold an energy during this kind of in between seasons. So, this is, of course, for the community, take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and wish it well as it goes to another sister who it's intended for. So go ahead and take a deep breath in with me and out. And we're just going to thank Spirit for giving us a beautiful message today. And here is the card. I am drawing from Rebecca Campbell's Work Your Light deck. Love this deck. Um, it is one of my favorites. I mean, this thing is beat up. I use it a lot. But here's the card for today. This is the card Leap. Leap. You go first. The universe will catch you. Mhm. How many times do we hold back because we want to know that things are safe or that it's going to work out or that it's going to, everything's going to be perfect. And so we never start because we're always scared. We never start because we're scared that it won't turn out the way that we hoped. And so we never start that hobby. We never, speak up at work or ask that person out on a date or volunteer for that event or start a new business. And so we we end up living a life that's less than full for us because we're afraid to take that first step. And this card is a reminder to take the leap. Take the leap. Start the damn thing. Start the podcast. Write the first page of your book. Pick up that new hobby. Speak up at work. We don't have any guarantees. And I think if we keep waiting for that, we're going to end up missing some of the most beautiful, albeit challenging and messy parts, but the most incredible parts of living a human life. We are so blessed to have these bodies, to have these voices, to have the ability to think and feel and create and exist and do all of these things. And those parts of us that are like afraid, they they are important. It is important to know that we have gone through things. There are things that are challenging. But in order to take the next step, we have to take the first step. In order to have those dreams and those things that we desire to have in our life, we've got to jump. We've got to jump. Even if it's just a little jump to start, we got to leap. And when we do, the universe has a tendency to catch us. Even if we don't quite fully understand or if it doesn't quite turn out, there's always something that is revealed to us that helps us along our journey. So, sister, now's the time. Jump, leap, skip, hop, grab a sister's hand and go for it because your light and your message and your voice is so important. It is so needed right now in this very challenging time in our lives. But it's so fabulous too, because in the darkness is when we see the stars. It's when we see the most magnificent parts of ourselves, even in the darkest points. Thank you for being a part of this first season of the Phoenix Perspective Podcast. I am so grateful for you. I love you so much, friend. I truly, truly appreciate you. And I will see you soon. I'll be here for the Phoenix Unscripted episodes. And of course, I will be here on the new moon on May 16th when season 2 begins. But until then, remember, you are so worthy of living your most vibrant life. Yes, I am celebrating you because you just finished another episode of the Phoenix Perspective Podcast. I am so grateful we got to spend time together today. It's really been a blast. If this episode lit up your heart or sparked something in your soul, please follow the show and share it with a friend who's ready to rise too. Until next moon phase, remember, you are so worthy of living your most vibrant life. See you next time.